All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. I have kind of a fun, small three-game slate here for you guys. We got the Memphis value that we were able to kind of nail, I think, last night. Kind of a fun night last night as well. Don't really need to jump into that too much, but what are your
We
initial
lost
thoughts
you, Eric.
for?
I don't know if I can't hear you on this one.
We'll, what are your initial thoughts for tonight's slate here? We kind of just have Memphis in a good spot tonight.
Yeah, man, Memphis definitely in a really good spot here. We were just talking pre-stream. Pereira, I don't even want to try to pronounce the first name there. Chalky's play on the slate. Never thought he would be the guy we were flocking to late season NBA DFS, but here we are, man.
That's actually, I think that sums up why I like late season NBA DFS is because you get some players that like no one's ever heard of, and just they tend to do well, and it becomes fun. Honestly, like yesterday. There's kind of a leverage play today. Everyone's on him. Now, we'll see if that ends up being the correct decision. But it does seem to be a good spot for him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
And so, yeah, we can just kind of start with Memphis for news wise. So, we already mentioned Pierre is going to be someone we're looking at. In terms of players that are game time decisions, we got Luke Kennard and Brendan Clark, who has he played that much this year? Like, I really don't recall him playing, but yeah, Desmond Bain, game time decision as well. Jake Larivia, game time decision. Stevens, game time decision. Then we got Aldama, Jackson, Concher, Smart, Utah, and Vince Williams. They're all out. So we can see the players that are projected to play right now. I guess, will this change? Are the minutes correct? I don't know. What are your kind of expectations for this group in general? Like, will this be who we're pulling in from?
Yeah, man. I think, for the most part, I don't expect guys like Bain and some of the veteran type players to play here. Even like Lamar Stevens, kind of true 50-50 with him. They probably need him for bodies, being out there. But I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I think a lot of these guys are probably going to rest.
Yeah, so with that, we should be able to know kind of who to end up on. So, Scottie Pippen was a player that I was pretty shocked at his ownership yesterday. As the day progressed, it kind of made more sense, I guess. But he is still someone I think is maybe a little bit underowned on a three-game slate, and that's kind of the difference between yesterday and today. Is that we were just getting some low ownership, I think, just due to the nature of it being a 10-game slate. Where today it's a three-game slate, and you got someone like Scottie Pippen who just went off for almost 40, and now we're getting him at 24%. Like, that just seems kind of crazy. And I get it. Everyone likes Jordan Goodwin. He's a little bit cheaper, a little bit safer. It makes sense why he's chalked, but I'm kind of had the same take I had yesterday with Scottie Pippen, who's popping up a little bit more in the model today. I don't know. Do you have a preference as to those two, or are they both good plays?
Yeah, man. So that's definitely a close call between, Pippen and Goodwin. I think I probably lean Goodwin. I think they're both solid plays.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pippen probably has the bigger ceiling, knowing like how good of a player he is when he does get minutes. So I think they're both fine. I probably
Yeah.
would lean Goodwin just a little bit though.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to eat the chalk there as well. So yesterday we also saw like Trey Jameson be really chalk. He is again tonight. He had a very good game, but I would argue everyone from Memphis is still a little bit too cheap. So that's why they're all a little bit too uh or a little bit chalky. I shouldn't say too chalky. I feel like they're correct chalk. So like Trey Jameson, the issue yesterday was we had so many great center plays. Obviously today on a limited slate, it's much easier to get to him. Is he the first center in your build, or are we maybe trying to pay up?
Yeah, man. So I think there's two clear centers today. I think Jamison's probably one of them for me. He's
Mhm.
just so cheap, man. I think yesterday, I don't know if you guys were on him, but I was huge on Aiden and Jamison
Mhm.
together. Those are kind of the chalk centers yesterday. Kind of going to go right back to here with
Yeah.
Jamison, and then probably just going to jam Jokic, man. Obviously we're not talking about Denver here, but he's in such a good spot tonight. Potentially no
Yeah.
more runs again. So.
Yeah. And then we got a question from Jose, and then Josh kind of already answered him. But yeah, the Memphis five starters, I don't know if it really matters. Everyone is basically projected to get right around 30 minutes. So that's kind of the nice thing is everyone that you want to probably be on, you can find a reason to be on them. I will say, Jameson only being 17% owned on FanDuel is, I get it. At the same time, I feel like that's a pretty good leverage spot. It's like, just be double weight the field, and hopefully he has another solid game.
Yeah, especially like he's not that much pricier on FanDuel, which is kind of interesting. I know Jokic probably will pop on there, but
Yeah.
Jemison, I mean, he just showed he can go for 40. We hadn't really seen that out of him earlier, so I love that comment. I think he's a really sharp FanDuel play.
And then on the other side of this game, we have Philly with Maxey as a game time decision, Harris as a game time decision, and Embiid as a game time decision. I believe we have them all projected to play. Yeah, we do. So this is where we're waiting on news. We won't have this news before lineup lock, unfortunately. I mean, this is kind of the make or break point, I would say, of the whole slate is getting this right. How much of your game theory is maybe just loading up on Memphis as much as possible so that you can adjust to maybe get to some Philly plays, or kind of how are you going about navigating that in general?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think if I'm loading up on Memphis, which I probably am, I think you potentially can run it back with maybe one of these Philly guys. I think, depending on who plays here, I think MB probably would look the best up top.
Mhm.
Just a great matchup here against Trey Jemison, this depleted Memphis front court. But I think any of these guys could be in play depending on the news. So, yeah, very news dependent in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, just in short here, let's say Max is ruled out. It's actually so difficult to speculate because if two of them are ruled out, we're probably just loading up on Kelly Oubre. If Max is just ruled out, maybe campaign pops a little bit. Obviously, if Embiid's out, we're probably looking at a little bit Paul Reed, but he's kind of priced up. If Tobias Harris is out, I don't know if we really get to anyone more. So it is kind of a wait and see approach. I guess that's a good plug. Are you in the Discord as well tonight, or?
I believe so, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be a good plug for the Discord,
Yeah.
right before lineup lock, but also just the model in general. Like that'll be a good spot once we get that news, for sure. But let's go ahead and jump on in then to the early game as well. We got Detroit versus Brooklyn. So Detroit, let's go in and get into that. We are getting some ownership here, but not as much as I would have thought. So Cade Cunningham ruled out, Fontecchio out, Fournier out as well. Jalen Duren, a game time decision. So that's a news item that we should get before lineup lock, but that could really change who we're on as well. So with that, we got Jaden Ivey chalk. We got Flynn kind of chalk as well. Troy Brown, I think he's one of the better values on the slate. The model's kind of saying that as well. Sasser, kind of a shoulder shrug play tonight. But what are your thoughts for Detroit?
Yeah, man. Just a quick note on Malachi. Coming off that 50-point game, he did shoot 0 for 12, I
Yeah.
believe, the last game. So that's a little bit of variance there for Malachi Flynn.
Actually, real quick, I love that. He shot the ball 12 times and didn't hit a single bucket. Like that, way to go out there and chuck. Like that's honestly, though, that is what you want. Like, dude, we can lock in 12 shots and 7 3-point attempts when you didn't make a single basket. Like, give me that. I'm happy to have like roster him again tonight at 4.8.
Yeah. And then you mentioned Flynn. I think he's a great play. Jaden Ivey, he's kind of the guy that I expected to go off the game before with Kid out. Obviously, the games were kind of scripted or like flipped. Ivy having the great game last game. So I think both those guards up top, I mean, Flynn and Ivy up top of guards, I think both really solid. And then the Troy Brown call, I think he's a good source of value. I don't know if I'm flocking to play him at 33,
Yeah.
but definitely a very solid value. And then Sasser, I'm right there with you. If you land on him, I think he's fine, but I'm not going out of my way to play him.
Yeah. I have a tough time getting to Sasser. And actually, I was kind of mad at it being a 10-game slate. I mentioned Jalen Noel. If it wasn't a 10-game slate, he'd be someone I would want to be on in that spot. And honestly, I don't know what to do with him tonight because like that felt like the correct call last night more so than it does tonight. We only have him projected to get 15 minutes. I could see him getting 220 again if this game spread is correct. I don't know. I feel like he's worth a look at the min price on both sites. Don't go crazy with it, but it's a 3-game slate. Like I can find reasons to play him more so. I don't know. Is that crazy on tonight's slate, or do you not have that much thoughts on min price Jalen Noel?
Yeah, so I haven't really looked into that much. I'm not gonna lie. So I probably won't get there too much, but I mean he's 3K. I definitely like playing 3K guys that have some upside. So if he gets minutes, man, he's a good, decent producer. So I don't think he's the craziest shot.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just been a point per minute producer when he has gotten minutes, and it makes sense why he could get some run here. But let's jump into Josh's question here. Is Clint Capella worth playing since they probably try to match minutes with the Joker? Sorry. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on Capella?
Yeah, so I was a little bit hesitant. I believe the last time they were out because he played 30 minutes the night before on a back-to-back, but he should be good to go here, coming off like a day rest. So I think he probably matches Jokic's minutes. Um, he's almost up to 7K now, 7,400 on FanDuel.
Hmm.
So I'm not as excited to play him, but he's definitely still a fine term play.
Yeah, I don't think I see it exactly that way. Like yesterday with JVal, it was something I mentioned in the Discord chat where I'm like, wait, they're playing Wemby, JVal. You know, when he plays against bigs, he gets a little bit more run. I don't know if I exactly see that with Capella. At the same time, I wouldn't talk anyone out of them for having that like thought. I don't know. I'd rather get to the chalkier Jalen Johnson, which sounds kind of ugly, but they're both kind of the same play on paper value wise. So I guess I get it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I prefer Johnson as well.
Yeah. Let's see here. So let's jump into the other side of that Brooklyn Detroit game with Brooklyn here. So, whoops. So with Brooklyn, the same players are out that have been out. I believe Cameron Johnson and Dennis Smith were both active at like over the last 2 or 3 games that they played, but now they're both out again. So with that, we are getting some of the Brooklyn players a little bit chalky. Cam Thomas is too cheap now. Schroeder is too cheap now. Mikal Bridges, I don't know what to do with him. Do you know what to do with him?
Man, I feel like I've been asking this question the whole year, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think he's fine at 30%. I'm never like really excited to play him as chalk. So
Yeah, he has been the one player literally this whole season that I feel like I have not gotten right. Like every single slate, I'm just always been on the wrong side of him no matter what. Like he's been chalk and I fade him and he goes off and it's just like
yeah,
So,
no.
but
It's
the other two,
Detroit.
the other,
So go ahead,
yeah,
guys.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's Detroit. So I mean, you couldn't really draw up a better matchup for him to bust.
Yeah, and he has been playing better recently, I will say. So the other two guards that we got, Cam Thomas, who 7.8, probably still too cheap given the role that he's been playing with them. Just getting the shot attempts up, really one bad game in there. I think that was with Dennis Smith back. I believe so. I could be wrong, but other than that, really been a safe and consistent player. Obviously gets a bump against Detroit. Between him and Schroeder, do you have a preference? Obviously, there's slightly different pricing, but do you have a preference as to which one that you are starting with, like lineup wise?
Yeah, I think it's somewhat close. I do kind of prefer Schroeder, even at 6,500. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's a pretty solid point per dollar play. I do prefer him to Bridges. I know they're not the same position, but I think Schroeder's for probably a little bit safer. How about you?
Yeah, pricing wise, probably Schroeder. Yeah, just echoing everything you just said. Yeah, I'm right on board with you there. I think that's correct. We did get an interesting question here about Clowney here. Any love for him tonight? So that is an interesting question. Obviously, coming in off of a very good game. I don't know. The bigs with Brooklyn have been super strange this year because we saw Sharp really play well and his minutes are just gone. Watford has been someone that's been playing really well. His price is probably still too low. We only have, well, we haven't projected for 17.4 minutes. So I don't know. Are you in on Clowney at all?
I would like to say yes, man. I don't want to say the last game was kind of a fluke, but I don't know, man. I don't love it, even at 3%. I probably won't get there, but were you gonna get there at all?
No, but I get it. I get it on the slate, like going against Detroit, 3-game slate. I get why the question's being asked. Like
Mhm.
it makes sense to me. I don't. I kind of look at it as like would I talk anyone off of that? I don't know. Would you?
I would just say it wouldn't be my preferred value play. That's
Yeah.
how I put it.
Yeah, that's fair. And then yeah, Watford. So only 4 minutes in the last game. I didn't see why that happened, but I think that kind of just goes to Brooklyn, where you can't fully trust them ever. Like Watford was someone that, had we not seen that last game, I think we'd just be loading up on him. Did he get injured in that game? Like, you, you would think,
I don't.
but we have him projected to get only 21 minutes, which is lower than he had been getting. But if he does get 25 minutes, I would say at this pricing, he's too cheap.
Yeah, I don't. I didn't really like look into the game, the last game too much, but I imagine he should go back to playing normal-ish minutes. So
Yeah.
I think he's a fine tournament play, man. I prefer him to guys like Clowney for sure.
Yeah. So Jose just brought up something I didn't really realize. That is fascinating for DFS tonight. So apparently his dad's being released from prison. So today we're apparently his dad's watching him play for the first time tonight, which is pretty awesome. I love narratives like that actually as well. So yeah, my answer is I can buy into that narrative 100%. I don't know if that really changes him as a play though. He's already popping up decently as a play. Against Detroit, projected to get 30 minutes, already like a decent play. I don't know. Do you buy into those narratives at all? Like extra motivation to play well?
Definitely, man. Especially if it's his dad, man. Definitely got to imagine he's gonna show out, especially for his dad. So, yeah, I like that narrative, Cole, man. I think that's especially for the scoring aspect, man. Like he's not typically a huge scorer, but I bet he shoots a little bit more tonight.
Yeah, and maybe gets a couple more blocks and steals. I mean, typically he gets one of those per night, but I don't know. He's man, that's a fun narrative. I did not see that, but yeah. I mean, I would say he's properly owned though on tonight's slate as well. And then let's just kind of jump into the last game on the slate as well. We'll start with the Atlanta. So for Atlanta, we are getting some kind of different chalk. Kind of mentioned Jalen Johnson already, but we'll talk about. So Gaye is someone that is a game time decision. He was a value play that we kind of thought about playing a couple of slates. Then everyone else that's been out is still out. So no big changes there. Yeah, I don't know. I have a tough time actually liking a lot of Atlanta. Like I like Jalen. I like all of them in like one-off spots. I don't know if I can go with too many Atlanta players. Do you have any like conviction plays with Atlanta tonight?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much on the same page with you. Love Jalen Johnson. He's pretty clearly my favorite play here from Atlanta. And then I guess DeJounte, I always put in like tournament consideration because he just has a huge ceiling, especially
Yeah.
in this spot. And then I think the rest of the guys, Bogdanovich, Hunter, Capella, if you land on them, I'd be fine with it, but not too high on any of those guys individually.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. So we'll just go ahead and jump on into Denver then. So the biggest news item is whether or not Jokic is going to play. I guess he's more likely to play tonight. So never mind to that. But we got Jamal Murray as a game time decision and Aaron Gordon as a game time decision as well. So that is what kind of muddies up tonight's slate as well. So if one of Gordon or Murray sits, that would make me want to play Michael Porter Jr. a bunch. Um, if one of and like the other player as well. So like if let's say Gordon's out, I probably like Murray a little bit more and vice versa. So it's kind of annoying in that regard. Do you have any like kind of what are your thoughts on Denver tonight?
Yeah, so Denver's probably arguably my favorite team of the night after Memphis here. I know they're pretty chalky, but Atlanta's
Mhm.
just really bad on defense. So obviously love Jokic up top. And then we have Murray projected in the model, which I think is kind of interesting. My kind of belief was that they were going to rest him all the way till the playoffs. But I mean, if he plays tonight, that's definitely a hit to Jokic just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of interesting to note there.
Yeah, and like if he sits too, you got the direct pivot. That's also questionable. Is Reggie Jackson as well? So like maybe someone like Christian Braun has a good game, or maybe like Gillespie gets a good look, or maybe Pickett. I don't know, maybe one of those guys start and get a ton of minutes. So like it's I'm actually very annoyed by the spot tonight because it makes sense to leave some lineups open to where you can get to one of those min price guys just in case. But for the most part, I don't know if they're being projected in to get that many minutes as well.
Yeah.
Like then I think we just kind of assume they're going to play.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to add too is I don't think they'll rest both Murray and Jackson. I bet one of those guys at least plays because they would be very depleted at point guard if they rested both.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my
Yeah.
thought there.
And then let's see here. So we got Aaron Gordon, MPJ. They're both kind of chalk, but they're both at good prices as well. Like Michael Porter Jr. has been someone that's been pretty darn consistent this year, but I really do like him in spots with Aaron Gordon out. I kind of don't mind to use him as like a lineup holder. And if Aaron Gordon sits, I'm very happy. But if Aaron Gordon plays, I don't know, maybe I just get to, I don't know. It feels like you need to have like a one off here because I probably, if I had to choose one that I like more, I like Aaron Gordon a little bit cheaper. But I don't know. Do you prefer one or the other there?
Yeah, so it obviously would make the decision easier if Gordon sat. I would love MPJ. So I kind of prefer MPJ right now between the two. Would like him more if Gordon sat. And then one more guy I wanted to mention for value. If Gordon would say, I think Peyton Watson would be very, very sneaky here in
Yeah.
tournaments. The last time Gordon sat, I'm pretty sure he had a huge game off the bench. So, yeah, I just wanted to call him out as well.
That's a good call. And then we got a question from Jose as well. So, is there a chance that Braun starts? I would say only in that scenario where both Jackson and Murray sit, but like JR said, yeah, it's probably not likely. So, uh, most likely no.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I think he started last game with Murray out, so maybe if Murray's out, I think Brown probably starts. But if Murray's in, Brown won't start at all.
So we got Josh D saying that he hates Aaron Gordon pretty much, that's interesting. I don't know. He's solid. I get it. He's solid though for DFS purposes. Um, So with that, let's kind of just go ahead and get into more the position by position breakdown. So we'll start out with the guards here. Again, if you guys have any questions, get those in. This is going to be kind of more direct of who we're going to be on by position. So let's sort it by OF index. So OF index wise is telling us DeJounte Murray's the best play, but he is priced that way. It's really kind of telling us maybe Kelly Oubre is a play that we want to be on, and maybe Cam Thomas are more lineup starting points. Maybe Scottie Pippen Jr. It's kind of some interesting spots. So I don't know. Do you have a rank of how you would rank your top 3 priority guards tonight?
Yeah, so it's definitely difficult. I think Goodwin probably would be my favorite. I know he's the chalkiest, but
Yeah.
I feel like he's kind of blowout proof with how slim they are potentially. So I think he probably looks the best. And then yeah, love Cam Thomas. Those are the two obvious ones. And I'm gonna give you like a lone shot that I kind of like here. Let's go with I guess Oubre, depending on the Philly guys. I'll throw him in that mix as well.
Yeah, the data thinks he's pretty solid at that price. It's kind of telling us, hey, that's a good leverage spot tonight. So I'm kind of right there with you. I would say Schroeder as well. I like as well. And then I do think I kind of hate that Jalen Noel has 4% ownership on DraftKings, but I do think I don't know. I feel like he should be. I don't know. I was hoping he'd be like not owned because I would say 4%. It kind of makes sense, but I do think that's a decent spot. You can get a guy that could put up 15 fantasy points to 30, really depending on the minutes that he gets. But he's probably not going to get 30 minutes, but probably 15 fantasy points. Like I'm kind of okay with that. And then just to call out Flynn again, 0 for 12. Like I like that. I like that he shot the basketball 12 times, even though he was terrible.
So he's due for a bounce back night, right? Like 50 points, 0 points. Like, is he going for 50 again? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, yes. If they're going to give him that leash, though, it's kind of intriguing. I will say, like Scottie Pippen Jr. And Jordan Goodwin, for that matter, a little bit higher price. Like, yeah, I would much rather get to those two. But still, obviously, pricing is the thing, and we need to worry about that. So, like, I don't know. I kind of consider more of a shoulder shrug play tonight, but like, happy to kind of get there.
Yeah, agreed completely.
Yeah. So yeah, Emma asking about Brandon Clark tonight. Let's see here. So still a game time decision, as is Luke Kennard. Yeah, we probably won't have that information until the end of. Well, I should say until that game's 30 minutes out, probably. So we won't have that by the end of this video, most likely. Hopefully we do. That'd be great. But
Yeah.
we'll go and jump on into the forwards here. So forward wise, I kind of let you take it here to start, like value wise or pay up wise. Where are you going?
Yeah. So, I'll just say prayer first. I always list the chalkiest option. I think he's totally fine. 70% is pretty crazy, but I get it, man. He's really cheap. So list him. Jalen Johnson, I have to say, he's always one of my favorite guys.
Yeah.
Love him at 27%. And then for my loss spot here, I'm gonna go with MPJ. I'm gonna kind of hope that Aaron Gordon sits and potentially Jamal sits as well. So I'm gonna go with MPJ here. I think he has a big game here against Atlanta. How about you?
Yeah, I think that's odd. I'd basically echo the same plays you said. I don't know. I'm more on the field with every play here. Like I agree with the chalk that we have. The one play I probably like slightly more than the field is Troy Brown, just slightly more. Yeah, more so on FanDuel as well at 6%. But I'm not going crazy with that. I don't really have any hot takes though for forwards. I kind of feel like everything is correct. I mean, maybe GG Jackson has more upside today. Like he's only 34% owned. I would argue if he's someone that had a big game last game, he'd probably be extreme chalk. Only played 27 minutes in that game, but still had 25 fantasy points. Like if he had 30 minutes, he probably gets to 35 and it's probably 10% higher owned. So
Yeah. I think
Probably
that's
on him a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. Played him last night as well. I was just shocked he didn't play north of 30 minutes. He's still kind of a young guy for them. So I'm kind of interested in him as well. I feel like he should be closer to 45%, like you noted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's a great play as well.
And he's 52% on FanDuel, which I would say, a little bit cheaper there. That makes sense. We did get another question about Clowney, so we can touch on that as well. I don't know. If we're getting asked that twice in a video, I would imagine this ownership projection is probably too low. Because it's just kind of, I get he just came off of a big game. And yeah, if he does get 17.4 minutes, someone we should think about on a 3-game slate. I wouldn't go crazy with it.
Yeah, once again, like it seems a little bit far fetched, but I get the intrigue coming off that big game. So
Yeah. If this was the middle of the season, I'd be like, yes. Or I'd be like, no, we're not chasing that at all. But like, given the fact that's end of the season, we do see random players like that pop up multiple times. So it's
yeah,
okay.
no, I got you.
And then before we jump into centers, if you guys have any more questions, we'd be happy to answer those. Again, 3-game slate, so not too much to touch on. But yeah, we're going and jump on into the centers. So center it was so weird for like 2 to 3 weeks. It seemed like center was just like lackluster. Like there's just nothing there. Every single slate, everyone was correctly priced. It was tough to have fun with it. Like yesterday, I was like, "Oh, Brooke Lopez 1% owned. Like that is awesome. Like let's play a little bit of him." That really didn't work out because Jameson and Aiden went off, but I was kind of mad that it was a 10-game slate because, anyways, there were so many good center plays yesterday, and we had that again today. It's like, do we need to get different, or do we just load up on like try to get maybe 3 centers into our builds with like Watford or someone, maybe Clowney, maybe Watson, obviously at the power forward, but it seems like a 2-center night. Is that kind of your thoughts as well?
100%, man. I typically on DraftKings try to jam 2 centers when it feels right. Tonight's definitely a night that I feel like that fits the mold. So yeah, definitely a 2 center night for me.
And then is it? I mean, you could theoretically get Embiid and Jokic in a lineup together with some of the value that's out there. I don't know. Is that too unique and too risky?
Um, I don't think it's the worst option. Obviously you're fading Jemison, but I mean, if you jammed all chalk, like I think you could definitely potentially do it. We can try and see what we can do for sure.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process when I asked that was that all right, you do fade Jameson, and then you get to probably Gigi Jackson a little bit more and Piera, like that. Those would be the 2 that you end up on instead of Jameson. But yeah, Jameson's kind of the clear cut value. It's probably Jameson and then Jokic or Embiid. But we also have like Watford at low ownership. Jalen Duren, we know, has a massive ceiling. We got to make sure he's active because if he's inactive, then we have to worry about, do we mess around with James Wiseman or Metu as well? So I'm kind of hoping Duren plays.
Yeah, hopefully he plays, man. So we don't have to touch that situation. So I agree.
Do you have a preference as to like which one it would be? I like, would it be Metu or would it be more Wiseman if he were to sit?
I assume they probably start Wiseman here. He's started in the past when Duran sat, so I assume Wiseman, but Metu definitely should see, increase run as well. So
Yeah, I would think they're both in play. If he were to sit, Metu's probably arguably already in play a little bit, but
yeah, good
so we
matchup.
got a question. We got a question here. Is it okay to have money left over tonight? What are your thoughts on that tonight? I don't think I really have had too much money left over tonight.
Yeah, so typically on normal slates I try not to go over like 300-400 left. Typically like 300 is where I kind of land on if I'm leaving salary. But yeah, I mean I think it's fine, but just don't go crazy with it. It's kind of my thoughts there.
Yeah. So with that, let's try to give a little bit. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is an interesting question. So I just saw this question. So yeah, if Duran were to sit, would Wiseman over Jameson be the way to go? Or I guess could we double dip with those 2? That's a phenomenal question. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't thought that far yet. Do you have a thought there?
Yeah, so I think it could be fine. Wiseman at 5K, I think it's a fine price point. So if you want yeah, you could go Wiseman and Jameson and hope Murray's in, and then maybe you could sneak out like a it's just like who would you spend up for then? It's a real question. So
Yeah.
it's tough. I still would lean Jamison point per dollar, but definitely consideration for Wiseman for sure if he says.
Honestly, that's a great call out though. Like if you're not playing up for Jokic or Embiid, you're pretty much saying that you're going to go with Maxey and probably Murray,
Yeah,
which it's kind of fine, but interesting there. I would still say Jameson in that regard,
yeah,
just because it's not like Metu could go off as well. But that's a great question. So yeah, with that, let's go ahead and get into a first look build. So I think we kind of both said eating the chalk on Jameson for now.
yeah, probably.
Okay. And then who do you like next? I guess probably for Memphis.
I mean, I think Goodwin's pretty safe. He's probably the chalk
Yeah.
option. Um,
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then I do think we probably want to get to one or two more of Memphis, honestly, just because I like that's later on in the day and we can pivot if we need to. I like Piera. I don't love the chalk, but are you kind of fine with that for now?
yeah, I was gonna say Prayer. He's the chalky one. Should be good to go. Whatever way this game plays out, you should be playing. So like that.
Yeah. And then we didn't really touch on it, but like Luke Kennard getting 33 minutes is certainly interesting. That's 17% ownership. I don't love him as a play. Simpson getting 30 minutes almost. Like, again, I don't love that play, but like that's where I was saying, like, value wise, if we wanted to play two of the bigs, like you could play a relatively bad play like Simpson, but like if Jokic and Embiid were to both massively go off, his 14 or so fantasy points wouldn't hurt you too much. But who would you prefer next out of that group? Is it Scottie Pippen? Is it Gigi Jackson? Or is it really doesn't matter, just depends on your lineup?
Yeah, so I feel like this is kind of the make or break part of Memphis here. I'm always fine with Gigi. I like him at the ownership he's out. So I'd be fine with Gigi. I'd be fine with Pippen. I think both those guys solid plays here. So yeah, either one for me.
Okay. Let's just revisit that. I think it might just depend on like where we're at
Yeah,
lineup wise. After that, you kind of mentioned getting to Jokic. Are you fine putting him in a first look build?
definitely, man. Love Jokic here. And then I'm really assuming sits here. Everyone has him playing. I just don't see it, man. I think he probably sits. So yeah, love Jokic.
Okay. Let's see here. So after that, I'm kind of curious as to what the chalk is again. Um, we kind of got a decent amount of chalk here. We kind of mentioned that like we like Schroeder a little bit more than Cam Thomas. Are you fine playing Schroeder instead of Cam Thomas in the first look build just to try to get a small edge?
Yeah. And I think you could potentially run Mull. I don't know. I think Schroeder probably. Yeah, let's go Schroeder.
Okay. I mean, we could probably play both of them, but yeah, it'd be
That's what I
fine.
was thinking. But yeah, I think both are fine.
Let's try it. So we'll put Cam Thomas and Schroeder in there, and then power forward wise, 5.5 left over, and then we got a forward as well that we need to fit in there. So I would say we could go Gigi Jackson here, and then maybe try to get unique with the last play into the build.
Yeah, love that. Love that.
So 4.7. I mean, I'm fine with Watford, honestly. Like he's not too chalk.
Yeah.
Metu, if the news breaks that way, I'd be fine with it. We didn't mention Lamar Stevens. I he's probably not going to play. If he were to play, would he be someone you're looking at all?
I think for sure, man. I think at low ownership, if he's gonna come in low on with a Q tag, I think I definitely got to consider him. For sure.
I mean, he's listed as doubtful. I just
Oh, he's doubtful. Oh, my bad. Yeah,
no. I'm just saying, like it is late season DFS. Like it wouldn't be
yeah,
surprising just to see something random like that happen, especially for Memphis, where that has kind of happened. But for a first look build, I really don't mind what we ended up on. Like, obviously, don't love Watford tonight. Maybe honestly, Finney Smith for the leverage, for the narrative that we had. It's kind of a fun play as well to toss in there. But
yeah. And then did you have like a stance on if Clark's gonna play? I know we talked about him so much, but just for
yeah,
like people.
no, he's truly a game time decision. But you're right. We should talk about that. Like what we would do with him.
Yeah,
I probably like him maybe the least of every Memphis player, and that's just this comes down to his projected minutes of 23 minutes. That could be because he's a game time decision though, and if that gets up to 30, that could change my take on him. But yeah, right now, especially as center eligibility only on DraftKings, he's kind of getting the X for me tonight, honestly.
yeah. Especially like being center only, like I don't know, man. I'm right there with you. I don't love him, especially with limited minutes.
So I do think it'd be fun to just real quickly do a lineup with both pay ups just for the fun of it. We'd be fading
Let's do it.
Jameson though. Okay, so we'll try that. So we'll do that. Who do we have to get off of? Probably Cam Thomas the most then, right?
Yeah, we can get off Cam and or Schroeder. I think both those
Yeah,
guys.
probably both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we probably need to get to another Memphis value. Maybe Scottie Pippen is still a little bit too high there. We'll go. Are you fine with Simpson? I know it's ugly, but or
Yeah.
Jalen Noel instead.
Let's
Is
go
that
Noel.
fine?
I like that Noel
Okay.
call, man. Let's roll with him.
It's a fun one. And we can play my shooting guard too. So then that leaves us with 4.4 left over. So like that opens up a lot. We could, I mean, we got to ask Clowney twice, so we could easily play him just for the fun of it, but we don't need to do that. But like, I think we kind of already demonstrate how easy it is to play both of those. But if you are maybe trying to play them, get unique, like maybe another Memphis big, but there isn't one. So
Yeah, I know, right? Like if Clark was like forward eligible, I would have liked him a lot more. But when he's center only on DraftKings, it's like it's hard to play him over these other guys, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. But like, I think this is a good example of a way to get unique off the chalk in a way where, like, let's say Jameson only puts up 20 and these two both go for like 60 or so. Like, that could be the difference. So,
yeah, definitely, man.
Oh, geez, Josh D. That's a funny comment. I hope not. I mean, it's just a fun narrative. I will say I already bet his over fantasy score on Prize Picks prior to the video, so like I'm really hoping that that's not the case. But that's why there's probably a little bit of confirmation bias there, like in the DFS call, because I already had exposure to him elsewhere.
Yeah, man. I think you should be good. Like he's kind of known for blocks and steals, and I know doesn't PrizePicks use the FanDuel scoring, so you should get the 3-point bonus or the 3.
Yeah.
You should be good.
I hope so. But let's just kind of give our final thoughts here. I think it's fine if we end a little bit early. Again, if anyone has any questions, get those in. But any final thoughts for tonight's slate?
I don't think so, man. Just really monitor the Philly news, and then kind of adjust your lineups with that news and also the Denver news, man. I think those two teams very important on this slate, and Memphis, obviously. Well, I forgot about them. Just monitor
Is that is that a situation though tonight where you're not getting as much to the early game as maybe we should, given the amount of decent plays we have for both teams, Brooklyn and Detroit?
Yeah, I think I'm getting more of the guards for Brooklyn, like you mentioned. I think I'll be lighter on Bridges and those guys, I guess, per se.
Yeah, that feels like the correct move. And honestly, going back to our first build, I think having both the guards in there just maybe isn't the best move, just because of the uncertainty in the later games. But I mean, it's a guessing game with the injury nose. Never know how it's going to break.
Exactly, man. That's how I feel.
Yeah. But that's going to do it for tonight's live stream, everyone. We are going to be an hour earlier tomorrow because of the early slate. Good luck tonight for DFS. We got Jayhawk going to be jumping in the Discord here in just a second. So jump on in there.
Sounds good. All right. See you guys later. Good luck.